Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing my April wrap-up. So in April I read 16 books, which worked out to be about 5,049 pages with an average rating of 3.84 stars. So April, I was kind of stressed out throughout the month, so I read a lot of like popcorn thrillers and just like easy, fast-paced thrillers that would just kind of help me cope with the stress and anxiety that came with the month of April. The majority of these are thrillers. I think I have 8 thrillers and then 4 romance and 3 fantasy. So I'm gonna start with romance and then do thrillers and then do fantasy, I think. Okay, we're gonna start with thrillers, but I'll have it timestamped like always between the thriller section, romance, and fantasy sections. So let's just get started. Okay, so for the thrillers, I read 8 thrillers. None of them were like standout great. I think the average rating for the thrillers would probably be like a 3-star. Okay, so we're not starting off strong here with One by One by Frida McFadden. This one I gave 2.75 stars. Giving this book 2.75 stars did surprise me because I usually really like her books for like the escapism, the fast pace, like just get out of my own brain and like feel immersed in this like ridiculous thriller situation that she comes up with. But for this one, I just did not love it. I found it really slow. I didn't really care about what was gonna happen. I didn't feel invested in any of the characters or like any of the plot points. And at a certain point, I was just waiting for it to end. It's definitely my least favorite Frida McFadden book, like for sure. This one is about a group of friends. They're couples and they go away for the weekend for like just like a little vacation to like rest and recharge without kids. But then the van that they're in breaks down on like some dirt road before they get to the cabin, and it all just kind of goes crazy from there. Like I said, I just didn't care about this pretty much at all, but yeah, I wouldn't recommend this one. Like if someone said recommend a few Frida McFadden books to me, like this would definitely not be on that list. I'm not gonna lie, I don't remember a lot of like specific details about how I felt about some of these books or like why I gave certain ratings to certain books, and I don't remember a lot of the plot points for most of these, but I'm gonna try my best here and we'll just see what happens. The next one is Forget Me Not by Stacey Willingham. Willingham. She wrote Flicker in the Dark, which is super popular, so I was really excited to get an advance copy of Forget Me Not. This one comes out at the end of August and I gave it 3.75 stars, so I did give it a fairly good rating. This one was definitely a very, very slow burn and the payoff like was pretty worth it, but I would say there was like a few things that just kind of didn't fully pan out for me in terms of like, I was left feeling like I wanted a bit more from the ending, and leading up to the ending I definitely was feeling like I wanted a bit more, especially because it was such a slow burn that I found the payoff wasn't like totally on par with how much of a slow burn it was. For this one, we have our main character Claire, and 22 years before present day, her sister Natalie had gone missing and she was never found. This one is set in the South and it very much feels like a southern, like a dark southern mystery. Okay, yeah, I would not say this is a thriller. This is definitely more of like a dark southern semi-gothic mystery, I guess I would say. Like the vibe is just like very dark in a good way. Like I really like that part of it. So Claire goes back to her hometown because she gets a call from her dad about her mom not doing well. I think she's a journalist, and so she kind of starts looking into her sister's disappearance, and she finds like this diary at this place. I don't want to say too much, but as I'm talking about it now, I'm remembering more. I really did enjoy reading this one. It kept me pretty engaged, especially for not being super fast paced. Like I was definitely invested and I was like pretty engaged with it. I think the only reason why I gave this like a 3.5, 3.75 instead of like a 4 or higher is that I felt like the ending was really drawn out. You know when you're watching like a movie or like an action movie and near the end it's just like the fight scenes are taking forever and you're just kind of like, okay, we get it. Like let's move on, let's move forward. Let's end the movie if we need to. Like this is just dragging on for no real reason. That's kind of like how I felt with the end of this one, is I was just like, okay, like we get it. Let's wrap it up. So yes, this one I did really like. I just found the ending wasn't a major payoff for how slow burn it was, but I would really recommend this. I also read The Maid's Secret, which I gave 3 stars, and this is the 3rd book in the what's it called? Molly the Maid series. And I don't know if this is gonna be the like third and last or if it's gonna continue. I don't remember how it ended. I gave this one 3 stars because I just did not care for it. So the series is very much like a cozy mystery series. We have our main character Molly, and she is a maid at a fancy hotel. And in the first book, she comes across like a dead body, and like in the typical cozy mystery, she like wants to solve it herself. The first 2 books are very much similar to that vibe. However, this one involved like a heist and some missing like priceless art. I just don't love like heist stories in books, movies, TV shows. Like I just don't really care that much. So this one I just didn't love. I did give it 3 stars because I still liked the characters like I did with the first 2, but I just didn't love like the whole plot. I just didn't care for. But if you did like the first 2 books, I would say like give the third one a shot. Another one that I read is Eat, Slay, Love, and this one I gave 3.5 stars. One of the taglines for this book is "A friend will help you move on, a best friend will help you move his body," which I thought was so funny. And I did really like this book. I gave it 3.5 stars. It was pretty good. And it's definitely more of like a cozy mystery slash just mystery with some funny elements versus a thriller. In this one we have 3 women, and they find out they're all somehow entangled with the same man who is conning all 3 of them. And this one is kind of like an adult version of John Tucker Must Die, and it was pretty good. I liked it. There was some like funny moments, there was some sad moments, but it was overall like a pretty good mystery. I don't have a ton to say about this one other than, you know, it was a solid mystery. Like I said, it was funny. It's very much like the women behaving badly. I support women's rights and I support women's wrongs. So yes, I don't have a lot to say about this one, but I did enjoy it and I would recommend it. I also read This Book Will Bury Me, which is the newest Ashley Winstead, and this one I gave 3.5 stars. This book is very interesting. It has a lot going on. I don't want to say too much about this one just because it does have so much going on, and I don't remember what's a spoiler, what isn't a spoiler, what is something that I would want to say versus what I wouldn't want to say. But I will just say it involves someone who's like an armchair true crime detective. She experienced like loss, I believe, earlier in her life, and so she has become obsessed with true crime to kind of like cope with it. It did kind of give me the same vibes as The Last Housewife, also by Ashley Winstead, but the plots aren't the same. It just like kind of gave me the same vibes in a good way. So I would really recommend this if you liked The Last Housewife, or if you like, what is her name? I don't know how to say her last name, Jennifer Hillier, I think. So if you like her or the other Ashley Winstead books, I would really recommend this one. I also think if you like Lisa Jewell, you might like this one. Another one that I read is called I Bet You'd Look Really Good in a Coffin, and this one I gave 4.25 stars. I really like this one. I loved the first one, which I believe is called How to Kill Men and Get Away with It, which was really funny. I also don't want to say too much for this one. One reason because it's a sequel, but also I just don't know what I could or couldn't say, but I will read this little blurb at the top of the synopsis. It says, "My name is Kitty Collins and I'm a serial killer. I don't want to kill, it's just so hard to resist. Some men really, really deserve it." I love these kinds of books, like I said earlier with Eat, Slay, Love, where it's just like women behaving badly. Again, I support women's rights, but I also support women's wrongs. So yeah, this one I gave 4.25 stars and I would really recommend it, and the first one was also really good, and obviously read that one first. I also read Kill Your Darlings, which is the newest Peter Swanson book, and I gave this one 3 stars. It comes out in June. This one is very interesting, and I don't know how to explain it without just reading this quickly to you, but it says, Wendy wants to murder her husband. What happens next has everything to do with what happened before. The story of Wendy and Tom's marriage is told in reverse, moving backward through time to witness key moments from the couple's lives: their 50th birthday party, buying their home, Jason's birth, the mysterious death of a work colleague, all painting a portrait of a marriage defined by a single terrible act they plotted together many years ago. This one was really interesting. I don't know why I gave it like just 3 stars, because I remember it being a very interesting premise. I think I remember feeling like it felt like I was reading it for a very long time when in reality I wasn't. Like I think it just was a bit slow and kind of dragged. I also feel like I didn't love how it ended. I'm not sure, to be honest, but I gave this one 3 stars, but the plot sounded very unique and interesting, and I would still recommend it. And last, for thrillers slash mysteries, I read The Thrashers, and this one is a YA thriller, which I love. I love a good YA thriller. There's something just so good about them. I don't know what it is, but I just love a good YA thriller. I'm reading one right now, or did I finish it? Oh, I finished it earlier today, but I really like them and this one was no exception. I gave this one 4 stars and it's about a group of friends in high school and they're all very wealthy except one, and she always feels kind of left out, but she's a childhood friend of like the most popular guy in that friend group. And then someone in their school winds up dead and they are kind of like all seen as like the top suspects, and then you just kind of see how that unravels. We as readers are kept in the dark the whole time, like we don't actually know what happened, which I really liked, and I think that aspect went like really well with the story. I love when there's like police investigations in these kinds of stories and we are also kept in the dark, because it's like we're figuring it out as the detectives are figuring it out as well. Okay, so that is it for the thriller slash mysteries, and now we're gonna move on to romance, and I read 3 romance books in April. So first I did a reread of Beach Read, and this one was 5 stars. On my reread it was 5 stars the first time I read it. This one is my favorite Emily Henry. It was tied with Beach Read for a long time, and then I read Funny Story, so then Funny Story and Beach Read were tied for second, and Book Lovers was first back then, and it still is now, even more so. I love Book Lovers. I love seeing other people's like rankings of Emily Henry books, and I often see Book Lovers either like dead last or like second from the bottom. I don't understand the Book Lovers slander, but I also don't like People You Meet on Vacation or People We Meet on Vacation. I don't remember what it's called, but I didn't like that one very much at all. I mean, I still gave it 4 or 4.5 stars, but it's definitely my least favorite of Emily Henry books. So we have our 2 main characters, Nora and Charlie, and they both work in publishing. Nora is an agent and Charlie is an editor. I don't really want to say much about this because I just love it so much, and I want people to go in like not really knowing or expecting much and just like hopefully falling in love with it the way I did. It's set in like a small town. I don't know. I don't want to say anything else. I just really want people to experience it like without knowing too much about it. And yeah, I love this book. I will forever love this book, and I would obviously just very highly recommend this one. Next, I read Wild and Wrangled, and this one I gave 4.5 stars. This is the 4th and final book in the Rebel Blue Ranch series, which starts with like Done and Dusted. The 4 of them are interconnected standalones, but I would recommend reading them in like publishing order just because they do flow nicely, but you can see that for like a lot of interconnected standalones. This one, like I said, I gave 4.5 stars, but I think it was my least favorite out of the 4 books, but I still really loved it. Our main character in this is Camille, and she was just recently left at the altar like right at the beginning of this book, and so we're seeing her deal with like the direct aftermath of that and how she's processing that. And then our other main character is Dusty, and he's like a childhood friend of hers. This one is like a second chance romance, small town romance. I really like this one. They're all like pretty short in the series. I'm sad that the series is over now, but she is starting a new one that's coming out in the fall, starting with a book called Soul Searching, and it's like kind of paranormal-y romance, and I'm just really excited for that. But this series is what made me love like cowboy romance, and I haven't read Elsie Silver's books yet. Definitely want to go into those now that the series is done. And lastly, for romance, I read Say You'll Remember Me, which is the new Abby Jimenez book, and this one I gave 4 stars. This is definitely like the one I like the least out of all of her books that I've read so far. And I just didn't love this one. I didn't really connect with the characters or the story. I just feel like there wasn't a lot of chemistry between the 2 main characters, and I just wasn't really like invested in this. But she is still definitely like an auto-buy author for me, and I will absolutely be picking up whatever comes out next. The next and last category is fantasy, and this one I have 4 fantasy books, well 5, but one of them is like a graphic novel fantasy. So there's 5 fantasy books, one of them being a graphic novel. The first one I read is Enchantra, and this one I gave 4.5 stars. This is the sequel after Phantasma. I don't have my copy here because I lent it to a friend. I am absolutely pushing this book on anyone, everyone. I have now made 3 people read it, and I'm so happy because they've all loved it. I actually like this one even more than the first one. I'm not going to say too much about the synopsis, except that we're following the sister from the main character of Phantasma. Both of these books are kind of like locked door, haunted mansion, dark romance. Not like dark romance, but like gothic romance vibes. It's definitely not dark romance. In both books, there's like deathly trials and games and things like that, and I just really love them both. I think I gave them both 4.5 stars, but Enchantra I like just a little bit more. I'm not sure why. Next, I read The Rivaled Crown, which is the 3rd and last in the Veiled Kingdom trilogy. This one I gave 3 stars, and I didn't love it. It was definitely my least favorite of the trilogy so far. I feel like this one definitely did a disservice to the first 2 books. I didn't love the sequel either. I liked the first one. These are definitely like popcorn romantasy books. There's nothing crazy about them. There's not a lot of world building. There's not a whole lot going on. They're not very long, but they're very like fast-paced and easy to get through. So they're good like palette cleansers, I find. So I would still like recommend the series, especially because they're on Kindle Unlimited. So you don't really run the risk of like buying it if you don't like it. I'm not gonna say the synopsis for the third one, but for the first one, we have a princess that's kept kind of like caged her whole life, that escapes from the kingdom, and she just like runs away. She finds the rebellion and she gets taken to like their underground city. You just kind of see what happens from there for like the following 2 books. Like I said, 3 stars for this one. The trilogy is nothing crazy, but a good palette cleanser if you're looking for something quick and easy to flip through that you don't really have to think too much about. I also read Can't Spell Treason Without T, and this one I gave 3.5 stars to. This one is a sapphic cozy fantasy, and it definitely is like very cozy. We have our 2 main characters, Raina and Kianth, and they are a couple. They run off together to some village where they open up like a tea and bookstore in one, which is like the dream. There's a lot more to it than that, but it definitely is just like very cozy, very relaxing. It's very low stakes, but there is just enough to keep it interesting. And if you like Legends and Lattes, I would definitely give this one a try. I'm going to be reading the sequel probably in the next couple months, and I'm very excited for that. Next, I did my reread of A Court of Silver Flames, and this one was 5 stars when I first read it, and it was 5 stars when I just did my reread. I absolutely love A Court of Silver Flames. When I first learned that this book was going to be Nesta's book, I was very disappointed. I was very annoyed, but after reading it, and honestly not even too far into it, I very quickly realized I was like a Nesta girly. I love Nesta. I would fight to the death for Nesta. And you know, I will respect your opinion if you don't like Nesta. I just will not understand it. But that's fine. I loved it, and I don't think I could ever read this and not love it even more than the time before that. And then this one is obviously part of the ACOTAR series, A Court of Thorns and Roses. It's the most recent one that came out, even though it came out like a while ago now. And then lastly is the fantasy graphic novel I read, which I gave 4 stars. It's called The Firelight Apprentice. This one was really cute. It's by the same author and illustrator that did Garlic and the Vampire and Garlic and the Witch. I loved Garlic and the Vampire and the sequel, Garlic and the Witch, so I was super excited when I saw that she was coming out with this new one. I didn't love this one as much as I loved the other ones, but it was like very different and still like super interesting. Our main character has some magical abilities, and it's actually kind of sad at certain points in the story. I'm not gonna lie. Her family situation is like not the best, and they live in this very small village. They're like struggling, and she wants to go off to this like magic school. It was really good. The illustrations are amazing. They're so cute. They're so pretty. I love the color palette, and I would really recommend this one. If you like middle grade fantasy graphic novels, I would really recommend this. Okay, so those are the 16 books I read in April. I had like an interesting month. I gave like pretty much like 3.5 stars on average, like around the board. Like I said at the beginning, I was having like a very stressful, anxious month, so I reached for a lot of like easy reads and like a few rereads of some favorites, which I think really worked out for me just with like the mood I was in. I would say overall, like my reading in April was a success, even though I didn't love a lot of the books that I read. It definitely helped me out with the anxiety and the stress. Please let me know if you've read any of these or what your favorite book of April was, and thank you so much for watching. I appreciate every single one of you every time, and I will see you guys again soon. Bye.